You were the chosen one. It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them. Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness.
Hello there. So after AFL 23 launched on May the 4th, or Star Wars Day internationally, I thought, let's give an early breakdown as to what has gone on in that theme of Star Wars. And so far, its aim is about as good as the Stormtroopers, which is not very good so far. And having played the game about a week out from launch, I saw some really promising signs. I'd sent some feedback to the team. And then on launch day, it was almost a bit like Order 66, where something had just gone completely and utterly wrong. And the game was not in a good way. Like, there was just so many key aspects of the sport missing. The AI was just very broken. And there was just some insane level glitches, which, very funny as well. And so I think the question for me was like, between what I'd played before and the release date was like, well, what went wrong, it's kind of a bit like a footy club. No one really knows the ins and outs unless you're inside those four walls and can understand exactly the processes that happens there. Being on the other side of the fence before as to, being a part of game dev, things can happen. Like, someone could do a bad check-in, whether they've commented out code or the compile is bad, or for whatever reason, something could go wrong. But like, this just seemed completely next level. And like, my personal favorite bug was the one where the coaches were the goal umpires, because I feel like Damien Hardwick would have loved to do that in last year's Elim final over that score review where I'm still not over, where Tom Lynch kicked a conclusive behind. Come on. He would have said it was a goal. You could run to the other side of the field. You could do a kick in where you literally just run straight from one end to the other. There was one where I saw that there was just like a mass of players which almost acted like zombies running towards the ball all at once. It was just a chaotic nightmare for a lot of people, I think, and every right to feel frustrated. Personally, I didn't spend any money on the PlayStation version of the game, but I did drop a couple of pineapples on Steam, and that was the place that I've been playing it most, because the PlayStation version has just crashed constantly. But let's break it down as a sports sim of AFL. And footy at its core can be broken into about six different parts. You've got disposing the ball, which is kicking and handballing, and then you've got the contest, which can be broken up into marking, spoiling, ruck contests, and tackling to try and win the ball back. They're your basic 6 elements that make up the sport. If you don't have some of these, if you don't have one of these, really, it doesn't make the sport. You don't have handballing, what's the sport? If you don't have kicking, if you don't have marking, etc., one of those missing is enough. And unfortunately for AFL 23, it seemed like there was a few of those missing, and some working questionably, that really made it a difficult sell for people to want to buy this game and keep playing it time and time again. Even a few patches in, there are still some of those core elements being worked on that just don't function as they should, and it is very frustrating for people wanting to play it. Combine that with the fact that the career mode isn't really working. There's like no speckies or anything super interesting that you can do in the game just yet. And it does really create a frustrating scenario for everyone trying to play the game. And I guess those who've worked on it behind the scenes as well. I think another frustration of people, with the game release here was a bit of the lack of direct communication in the build-up. And that's probably my biggest criticism with how this launch has gone, has just been the communication and the messaging being inconsistent throughout. And I think having the most communicated method come through a footy forum that is notorious for, scandals and rumors and people who are, abusing players post-game for making them lose their multi and saying lots of colourful language, is probably not the ideal place to get a lot of that feedback from. So from that aspect, nothing major of note has been delivered to the wider community. I've sort of covered a lot of what has been posted there as sort of a newsy way of getting the information to everyone, because as I said, there's really been not a lot on official channels. And I find it probably a more effective way for me to deliver information to people than they, spend 25 minutes trying to rush through a forum to find out where the key points are and what they should be expecting to come out in their game or be updated on what's next in their release. I seriously think that Big N and the AFL would benefit from having some sort of community manager or an official page where they are sending out all of their messaging from. I know Big N's Twitter has kind of been a little bit of that, but it really has not had the level of detail that has been posted on these forums. And you do want to get as much information out to people and have a direct line of communication for everyone to be able to give feedback, ask questions, and you can be like, this is the go-to place. this is where you're getting your information, and it is just solely people who are interested in the game. Especially with Big N having about 4 titles coming out this year, or supposedly 4 titles coming out this year, you probably want someone associated with your games to know like what is happening at any given point, and if people want to ask questions, they can ask questions straight there through their community manager. I do not want that job. Good luck to whoever does it. Because, you know, it is a full-time job to actually engage with an audience of people who are interested in, whether it's a game, movie, TV, whatever it is. Having someone who can manage that community and be the point of call for everyone is a no-brainer, especially with social media being so important in today's world, whether it's for any business. Like, it makes sense to have someone doing that role and like giving everyone everything they need to know. You combine the unfortunate state the game was in release and the lack of communication. You know, people have every right to be upset or angry, you know, and anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, and suffering leads to the dark side. Speaking of the dark side, obviously the Xbox people have not yet played the game unless they've bought it on PC, so it seems like you've kind of dodged a mini bullet here, being able to see the game progress through its earlier stages before getting your chance to have a look. And I'm sure that once it does come out on Xbox, it'll almost be like a relaunch of the game. But it's going to be a very tough sell for Big N to win back the trust of a lot of people who have already purchased the game, and some of which have probably already returned it. I want to be very clear that there are a bunch of people who have probably worked really, really hard on this game and have put a lot of time and effort into it. So I don't want to really criticize those people and you know, have a crack at them. But obviously, I think it's quite fair to be able to criticize their work. It's kind of like footy players. You can't say like, oh, I hate Jack Riewoldt because he annoys me. But you can say, hey, I don't like the way he plays. Two very different criticisms. One is personal, one is work-related. Keep it civil, keep it work-related. And they're obviously looking to address a lot of these issues. There's been some updates in the first couple of days to fix a lot of the major problems, but there's still crashes happening. There's still core elements of the game that aren't working properly that, you know, make it frustrating for players. But they have given us a list of things that are going to be coming over the next week or so. I don't think they're trying to Jedi mind trick us there into things that aren't going to come, because obviously they're putting it out on the official channel saying this is what's happening. So at least there's slightly better communication there. I think it also means they know what they did release was subpar and not up to scratch. So it's good to have some sort of timeline as to what is going to be coming and when we're going to get it. As for Pro Team, wouldn't have a clue, hopefully soon. But again, let's fix the core game first. So look, I'm not too sure what my content plans are for this game at this point. You know, obviously I've had a couple of videos come out earlier where I had some, you know, some pretty good fun with the game, but like it's going to get repetitive until there's a bit more depth in terms of like the career working and I can create a series around that. So I personally am probably going to just take a week or so until hopefully the game's in a much better state. If there are elements of the game that I can pick out and make content out of, I will. If not, I'm probably just going to leave it because I do have a busy week myself. So, you know, it's disappointing the way this is launched, and I'm sure lots of people will be looking forward to content that not only I but a lot of other creators would have been doing. And they just can't do it because the game at the moment is simply just not what we'd like it to be. And at the end of the day, I'm sure we're all really passionate people and passionate footy fans that just want to see a really quality product and quality game. And so that's why it's kind of really hard to have this criticism and be like, this just isn't it, because we really want a good quality game and we were so excited leading up to the launch as to where we were going to be. So look, I fully believe the game's going to get better, and I'm just hoping it's obviously sooner rather than later that we get to that point where the game is, you know, in a really fun position. I don't know, are they going to relaunch it almost when the Xbox comes out as like, hey, the game's back again? I'm not too sure, but we'll get some more updates and things as they all come along. In Star Wars, Leia says, hope is like the sun. If you only believe in it when you see it, you'll never make it through the night. So I think we all need some hope. While we can't really see too much progress right now, just fingers crossed, hopefully it gets better. Anyway, that's it. Bit of a rough patch for AFL 23 after its launch. When things and updates happen, I'll let you know about it. But obviously, it has been a disappointing start to the game. If you haven't bought it yet, probably hold out for now. And then once you see where it's going, I'd give it a crack, or at least have a look at where it is before you give it a crack. That's it. That's all. Have a good day. There's my update on AFL 23. I've spoken.